Hi everyone, let's start lesson 5 on graphs and charts. How do we visualize data? We're going to interpret pictures. I won't have you draw them, but I want you to be able to interpret them. The terms graph and chart are used interchangeably, basically. All right, so let's start with frequency histograms, which we can use to graphically represent quantitative data. If you have qualitative data, we call those bar charts. Okay, so remember the frequency histogram for the president's ages. We've seen this before. So for these various age classes, we get these various frequencies. For example, look at this modal class, the most frequent class. 13 presidents were in their early 50s when they became president. Let's turn this into a picture, a frequency histogram. Over here. So the frequency histogram below is a graphical representation of the frequency distribution of presidents' ages. And the heights of these bars here correspond to the frequencies of the corresponding classes in the frequency table. I'll put these next to each other, right? So down here, by the way, bars for consecutive non-empty classes should touch, all right? So notice these bars are touching, and the high 30s class was empty, so there's no bar here. It's a flat bar, all right? Okay, so we have the 8 classes listed here along the horizontal axis. Age in years, that's the unit for the horizontal axis. The vertical axis is the frequency axis, all right? Now again, presidents in the late or high 30s, none. So flat bar here, no bar. Low or early 40s, 2 of them. So we have a bar whose height is between 0 and 5. On an exam, I'm not going to get a ruler or anything, but basically you want to say that between 0 and 5 presidents were in their early 40s when they became president, between 40 years old and 44 years old. 7 presidents were in their late 40s, 45 to 49 years old. So the bar here is height 7. Notice that each of these bars have equal widths, just as each of these classes has equal widths, 5 years. Okay, so the frequencies go 0, 2, 7. That's a 0, by the way, not a 6. 0, 2, 7. 7 is between 5 and 10. Okay. 13, that's the modal class. Again, you don't need a ruler. Just know that the number of presidents in the early 50s was between 10 and 15. 12 over here. These are heights. 7 here, 3, and 1. All right. And then nothing out to the right. Now, how could you describe the shape of this frequency histogram? Well, it's roughly symmetric, okay, about some midline, all right? It's roughly symmetric. The left half and the right half are almost mirror images of each other. And it kind of resembles a bell curve, which is one of the most famous kinds of shapes in statistics. A bell curve might correspond to a normal curve, for example. Now, these kinds of shapes, where it's peaked in the middle, symmetric, and kind of trailing off at both ends, these kinds of shapes are common for data on natural measures, such as ages or heights. So on homework or some exam, I might ask you to estimate frequencies, okay? Again, you don't need a ruler, but know, for example, that late 40s, the frequency was between 5 and 10. Here it's 7, exactly. Or between 10 and 15 presidents were in the early 50s. In fact, it was 13.